Hello and welcome back to the National League Rugby Preview Show powered by Talking Rugby Union, where every Thursday we look ahead to the next round of fixtures in National League Rugby, whilst also hopefully giving our clubs a little bit more of a platform, a little bit more of a spotlight to showcase what they are all about. So supporters of National League Rugby and rugby fans in general are encouraged to head down to their local National League Rugby club on a Saturday afternoon. And we hope what we've been doing so far via the preview show, people have been encouraged to head down to their local National 1 or National 2 club, because as expected, it has been a thrilling start to the campaign, and we do hope and we are sure it will continue for the rest of the season. As always, please do make sure that you like these videos, hit the subscribe button on our channel as well, and do share the videos as much as you can. It all goes to help to boost the profile of National 1 and National 2, and so far the engagements and the likes and the subscriptions that we've had to our YouTube channel have been really appreciated. So we do thank everybody who has taken the time to do that. And as you can see, unfortunately, I am on my own this week, as our regular guest and pundit Ben Jaycock unfortunately can't join us. So do bear with us. We will still be covering National 1 as well as National 2, North, East and West as best we can, but we'll just be doing it a little bit differently this week. For National 2 North, we will be joined by Preston Grasshoppers club journalist Tom Kelly, who'll be able to give us a bit of an insight on the Hoppers' start to the season, and also we'll be having a big chat around National 2 North as well. And our featured clubs for the preview show this week come in National 2 East and National 2 West. In National 2 East, we'll be focusing on newly promoted Oxford Harlequins, where we'll be speaking to Director of Rugby and Head Coach Pete Davies to get a little bit of an insight into their journey. 2 promotions in the last 3 seasons for Oxford Harlequins, and they are still a fully amateur side in National 2 East, so interesting to learn a little bit more about them. And then over in National 2 West, we'll be focusing on Macclesfield. It is well documented that Macclesfield are in National 2 West this season, and we were lucky enough to visit the Cheshire club on Tuesday evening to talk to a few people about the challenges the club are facing or have been faced with so far this season, but also how they are embracing the challenge, because 7 points from the first 3 games of this season is a really good return for the Blues. So really good to hear from the guys down at Macclesfield, and that is going to come later on in the show. But as always, we will crack on and we'll start with National 1, where 4 teams remain unbeaten heading into the final weekend of September, one of which are third place Birmingham Moseley. Remember last season Adam Baldine's side finished fifth in the standings. They are currently third, and they continued their neat and tidy start last time out against Bishop Stortford with a solid 28-14 victory at Bilsey Common, and they are back at home this weekend to take on 5th place Blackheath. So that should be a good game if you are in and around Bilsey Common on Saturday afternoon. And just above Birmingham Moseley in the standings are 2nd place Rotherham Titans. Now I know myself and Ben continue to talk about Rotherham every week, but it's very difficult to ignore what's going on at Clifton Lane at the moment. A fabulous victory for them last weekend, a 48-19 win over Esher. But reading a few comments on social media after the game on Saturday, a few of the supporters were saying, look, this week's game in round 4 against Sale FC away at Hayward Road could be a good gauge of where Rotherham are at this season, because they can come away from the Northwest with a 4th victory. My goodness me, what could this season hold for Rotherham Titans? I know internally they'll be keeping their feet on the ground at the moment, but 4 wins from 4 would be a fabulous return to this level for the Yorkshire club. So a really interesting game between Sale FC and Rotherham to come on Saturday. And speaking of Sale, they kind of had a day to forget, didn't they, in round 3? For those who may have seen it on social media, their bus broke down on the way to their away fixture against Rams RFC. And when they did arrive in Berkshire and the rugby got going, they were beaten 33-0 by the early league leaders. So they'll be hoping to bounce back in round 4, But speaking of Rams, as I said there, they are the early table toppers. They are the only side with 15 points from 15 from their name at the moment. But they do have a very, very intriguing game this weekend against seventh place Dings Crusaders away at Shaftesbury Park. Now, Dings have started life in National One really, really solidly. They have picked up 2 wins from their first 3 games and haven't actually lost. Sorry, they've only lost 1 of the last 24 matches. In all competitions. That includes obviously National 2 West in terms of their promotion winning campaign last year. So they're going to be a tough nut to crack for Rams. So while Stings Crusaders will know the challenge which is coming from Berkshire in the face of Rams, Rams will know that this won't be an easy outing for them over in Bristol on Saturday afternoon. So really a fixture which jumps out at the page in terms of round 4. The other side who are unbeaten in National 1 are Richmond. 3 wins from 3 for them. A really good victory for them against Darlington Moden Park in round 3. They make the trip to Esher on Saturday with the newly promoted hosts still searching for their first victory of this season, and a couple of those sides actually who are in the same boat of Esher in terms of looking to get off the mark as quickly as possible are Darlington Moden Park and Roslin Park, who meet in the northeast in round 4. Both sides yet to win so far this term. DMP have been hit by injuries at the start of the season. They'll be hoping their squad can settle as quickly as possible. As for Roslin Park, well, they brought in a few new faces over the summer. They're waiting for things to start to click, start to gel, but both DMP and Roslin Park will be hoping those consistent performances are just around the corner and potentially starting with this weekend up in the northeast. So a really interesting battle that one will be. And Leicester Lions also are yet to register a first win of the season. They'll be looking to do just that against Sedgley Park this weekend, whilst Plymouth Albion, who did open their account for 2024-25 last time out against the aforementioned Leicester Lions, with that 27-22 win at Britfields, they'll be looking to build on that when they take the trip to Bishop Stortford on Saturday afternoon. So let's have a quick look at the table for those who want to see it in black and white. Rams are the only side, as we said, with 15 points from 15 to their name, with Rotherham Titans, Birmingham Moseley and Richmond tucked in behind. And as we said, those 4 sides yet to register a win. Esher, DMP, Leicester Lions and Roslin Park will be hoping it comes sooner rather than later. So let's just have a quick recap of the fixtures for National 1 in round 4. As we mentioned then, Richmond go to Esher. That's a 3 p.m. kickoff at Molesey Road. DMP versus Roslin Park. Something's got to give in the northeast. Plymouth Albion make the trip to Bishop Stortford. Sedgley Park visit Leicester Lions. League leaders Rams take on Dings Crusaders at Shaftesbury Park. Really one of the standout fixtures in round 4 in National 1. Sale FC welcome and inform Rotherham Titans to Hayward Road, and in fact Rotherham have won their last 18 matches, a run which stretches back to the end of November last year. So what a big test it will be for Sale FC at the weekend. And finally, Birmingham Moseley will be aiming for a full house in September when they are back at Billsley Common to host Blackheath in round 4. So much to look forward to in National 1. So let's head into National 2 North now, where, as you can see, we can bring in our guest for this week, and it's Preston Grasshoppers club journalist and sports journalism student at the University of Central Lancashire, Tom Kelly. Tom, thank you so much for giving us your time and coming on the show. Given you do have your strong affiliation with Preston, I think it's only the right place to start. And it seemed like one of the main headline scores from round 3, really, after 2 tight games for Hoppers against Chester and Fylde, which didn't go their way. It was third time lucky against Sheffield Tigers with a 27-26 win, wasn't it, Tom?
Yeah, they don't make it easy on themselves or me, that's for sure. But it was deserved win because they were on the attack pretty much the whole game. Sheffield Tigers had their game plan where they were clearly aiming for penalties. That was the aim, and the Hoppers very much helped them on that. But it was a deserved win, and I mean the 2 games before probably deserved to win those as well. But again, got themselves in trouble, and it was their own downfall almost. So I think it was a top win for them, and one that was very much needed after a bit of a down point against Fylde, especially.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about kind of the emotions after the win, Tom. I suspect you would have spoken to Dan Orwin, obviously the boss at Preston, a few of the players. I guess what was it like? Because I can guess that it might have been relief and a bit of a punching of the air kind of thing.
It was very much. relief was the word going around when I was talking to the players in the bar afterwards, and Dan Orwin. He was very happy. He was like he was annoyed about the penalty account again, which is their own issue, but he was very happy to have won the game. So it was a lot of relief. You could see a lot of people taking deep breaths, like, "Oh, thank God for that." It was very much a relief, is the word to use.
Yeah, and obviously heading in towards the end of September now, Tom, still plenty of rugby to be played. But what's kind of the thoughts and ambitions of Hoppers this season, do you think? I know 11th place last season, but what are they kind of targeting, or are they just trying to take each game as it comes, as cliche as it sounds?
On the first game of the season, I asked Dan what his aims were, and it was very much he used the words every game, but also he was very adamant. Top six is what they want. They want to reach that top half of the table. They feel they've got the squad to do it. They feel they've made the improvements from last season, which first three games definitely have, because they would have definitely lost the game against Sheffield Tigers last season with the resilience and that, and then they would have been miles off it after both first halves against Chester and Fylde, where they were miles off it. But the second half came out better. Again, should have won the game. So the improvements are there. I mean, they've only lost by 2 points twice and won by 1 point, so the games are that close. So if they can get those scorelines just the other side, top six it's definitely there. But there's a lot of competitive sides this season, so it's not as easy, but it's definitely a chance for it.
Yeah, no, really good point you make there, Tom, in terms of Hoppers only losing games narrowly and obviously getting a morale boosting win in round three. And this weekend, they'll be hoping to build on that when they go to Harrogate, who are still looking for their first victory back in National 2 North. And we mentioned sort of Hoppers finishing 11th last season in this division, sandwiched in between Lymm and Billingham, who have really caught the eye in the opening 3 weeks of the season, haven't they, Tom? I mean, Lymm currently 3 wins from 3, beating Preston's Lancashire rivals, Fylde 49-17, I think it was last week, or 49-14, sorry, just to check my notes there. I know for the rugby paper, you spoke to fly half Tom Shard, who's one of the shrewdest operators in the division. So what was his thoughts in terms of the start they made to the season, and what ambitions do you think Lymm have really got this season?
Um, I think for a lot of teams that was a surprise how well they've started. For them, he sounded very adamant. That was a good start, and he was very. They'd won obviously only the second season ever in this league, but the words he was using was push on a lot. He was wanting them to push themselves up the table, get themselves top half potentially as well. And I mean, 3 wins from 3. That's 4 points in all games as well. So that's a brilliant start. And he said, obviously, first 2 games were away. He was like, if you had told us we won both our away games, I would have taken your hand off it. So I think they were very adamant they wanted to push on, but also very happy, very surprised, especially for such a small area compared to a lot of teams in the league. And a lot of the players have come from the academy. That's what he was most happy about, the team playing well, just taking each game as it comes.
Yeah, and I think that's probably evident given some of the scorelines they've had this year. They've really looked like they've been enjoying themselves, and they'll be hoping to push on, as Tom says, this weekend against Sheffield Tigers, winless Sheffield Tigers. But I'm sure those at Dormore will have something to say about that at the weekend. Also unbeaten, as we mentioned, are Billingham, 2 wins and a draw for them. A really, really hard fought physical battle against Otley last weekend. And obviously the main highlights for Billingham will be taking another home victory. But just take a look at this from their win against Otley. Referee Michael Harris providing his own commentary on Billingham's second try. Just have a little listen to this.
Well, I don't know if that was the right option. Oh, get lost. Did you hear what I said?
You get that position from me.
I said, doesn't look like the right option.
Absolutely brilliant. And Tom was telling me off camera, it's not something you usually see from a match official, but what it does show is that everybody connected to rugby can enjoy the sport. And Michael is getting a lot of love on our social media channels and Billingham social media channels. So big thank you for Billingham for highlighting that to us. But in terms of the rugby itself, the North East side will definitely be aiming to end the month unbeaten. They go to Hull on Saturday, who are still looking for their first win of the campaign. And one of the other sides who are 3 wins from 3, like Lim, who we mentioned before, Tom, are Sheffield. They ran in 9 tries last Saturday to swat aside Harrogate 57-19. Obviously, they had a fabulous season last year, didn't they? I know you spoke to Anthony Poser as well recently for the rugby paper. So is there a sense within the walls at Aberdale Park that they can build on that brilliant season they had last year of finishing in 3rd?
He was very tight-lipped when I kept asking whether they could challenge. He very much stated every game as it comes, every single time I asked, because I asked him whether they could challenge Leeds, because obviously Leeds probably only lost 2 games last year, and he went, they're a brilliant side, but we'll just think about them when we play them. So I think a lot of clubs definitely think they'll be the ones to challenge, but Anthony himself was very tight-lipped and wouldn't express what he was thinking properly when he said it, but he was very much they think they can beat what they did last season, which obviously was historic already. So 2nd will be brilliant, 1st even better.
Yeah. A few coaches, me and Ben have chatted about it on the few of the show so far. A few coaches keeping their cards close to the chest, and understandably so, with it only being September. But Sheffield will be looking to end the month with a full house of victories. They go to Tyndale on Saturday. So let's just have a quick look at the table before we go into the fixtures for round 4. As me and Tom have discussed, Lim currently leading the way with 15 points from 15. Leeds, Tykes and Wharfdale, two of last year's top 4 in there as well. Sheffield tucked in just behind, with Billingham unbeaten in 5th place. At the other end, Hull, Sheffield Tigers and Harrogate aiming to stop the rot before we head into October. So let's have a look at those fixtures then in all their glory heading into round 4. Fylde versus Chester, 2 teams we haven't really touched on so far, but 2 teams who will be desperate to respond from defeats last weekend. Harrogate taking on Preston Grasshoppers. Tom, I was going to say Tom Kelly's Preston Grasshoppers then, but will you be heading to the Apollo Capital Stadium to cover the lads on Saturday?
Yes, I will be there. So hopefully back-to-back wins for Preston, but it won't be an easy game. But I think the players very much they really want that win there. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think if I'm right in saying, and probably the statisticians out there will correct me, I think the last time the 2 sides met at Harrogate got the better of Preston. So from a Hoppers perspective, they'll be hoping that changes out on Saturday. As we've touched on, Billingham go to Hull, hoping to maintain that brilliant start to the season. And after hosting Hull last week, Leeds Tykes entertain their neighbours from Humberside, Hull Ionians, in round 4, looking to make it 20 points from a possible 20. Otley meet Wharfdale at Cross Green. Early front runners Lynn visit Sheffield Tigers, aiming for also to make it 4 from 4. And Tyndale, as we mentioned with Tom, take on Sheffield, with the hosts looking for their first win of the season. And a big thanks to Tom for joining us for the National 2 North chat. But let's head now into National 2 East, where, like in National 2 North, 3 teams have picked up all 15 points which have been available to them, including early table toppers Canterbury. Another strong showing last weekend from the City men, 49-21 victory over Worthing, and it's their best start to a season since 2015. But arguably their toughest test comes in round 4 as they travel to Guernsey Raiders, who, like Canterbury, have a 100% record to their name. Great start to the season for Jordan Reynolds' side. They backed up 2 home wins with their first away victory against Havant last time out, a 39-20 win at Hucks Lane. So they will be hoping to maintain their excellent start to the season at Foots Lane, but something's got to give between Canterbury and Guernsey Raiders. A great fixture to headline National 2 East this weekend. Tunbridge Julians on the other side, who have 3 wins from 3 to their name, and Jordan Turner Hall and Seb Sherwood's men go to Worthing on Saturday. And speaking of Worthing, they are one of 4 teams yet to open their accounts in this division, and one of those sides are also Oxford Harlequins, and they are our featured club on the National League Rugby preview show this week. Oxford Harlequins taking on Henley in a bit of a local derby at the Horsepath Sports Ground on Saturday afternoon. So we chatted to Director of Rugby and head coach Pete Davies about the local derby against Henley, how they've settled into life in National 2 East, but also the fact that they remain as a fully amateur side in National League Rugby.
That's been our mantra since I took over at the club as a head coach. We wanted to be the best sort of amateur club, community club in the country, and get as high as we possibly could with that pretense of not paying any players. and we don't pay any players. And we're going to stick to that, partly because we haven't got any money. Need a plug for some sponsorship there if possible. But any money which doesn't come into the club, it gets invested back into the club, into the facilities, into the juniors, the minis, the girls, the women's, obviously the senior program, medical support, facilities, getting the club as good as we possibly can get it. And so we are an amateur club. We don't pay. What we do have is a really, really good community rugby club, which functions really well. It's got a good culture, great people, lots of people playing rugby on Saturdays and Sundays. We put obviously 3 adult teams out in the leagues, which are all being really competitive. We've got a women's team. We've got a thriving junior section of minis. We've got a girls program, which is up and running and coming on leaps and bounds. We're getting more numbers every week for that, which is really pleasing. And so if our goal is to be the best amateur club in the country, we're a long way towards achieving that with the way we're doing things. And I'm just delighted with the progress of all the squads. With 2 promotions in 3 seasons is speaks volume for the lads who are at the club. They do it for fun. It's their hobby. And we have a good time when we're doing it. Professionalism, family and belief are our 3 key buzzwords. And they're not just buzzwords which we talk about. We live and breathe them. And it has meant that we've had the success on the back of that. Players want to play for Oxford Harlequins. In spite of not being paid, they want to turn up for the club every week. And they don't have to. It's cold, wet, Tuesdays, Thursdays. The lads just turn up in their droves. And they desperately want to play for the club, whether it be 1s, 2s or 3s. Always wanted, never needed is one of the things we always say to the players. And I think that's one of the reasons why players want to come to us.
And maybe that sort of dedication to the club's probably the right word, Pete, and commitment was perhaps, best encapsulated last season for you guys. Am I right in saying you were, just to break it down for people who don't know, sort of the last 3 seasons for Oxford Harlequins? Obviously, you went on to win South West 1 East, if that's right, Pete. You then were in Regional 1 South Central, shifted to Regional 1 Midlands, and then obviously you find yourselves in National 2 East. But on the Regional 1 Midlands season and the promotion, obviously it's completely different geographical area for you guys. So to ask players to commit to going pretty much travelling north every other weekend and to go on and get promoted, does that best encapsulate what you just said there about that commitment and dedication the lads have to the cause, no matter if they are playing first team rugby or third team rugby?
Yeah, absolutely. It was tough last year. That Midlands League is hard. And the travel doesn't help. But the guys, bought into it. We said at the start of the season, we wanted to go for promotion. We'd spent the previous season in South Central. That's a really tough league. The likes of Havant and Wimbledon, Camberley, London Welsh, Maidenhead. Real good clubs. And going to the Midlands was really tough. Stourbridge, Bridgnorth, Kenilworth, Derby. Good rugby clubs with good history. But we went for it, and we were determined and stuck with the cause, and the lads committed. Fair play to them, and we got promotion. Was it 2 games to go? I think it was, which was really, really pleasing. And then we always wanted, obviously, to get the National 2. That was always our goal. Whether they put us on the East or the West, we didn't know. We didn't particularly care. But I'm quietly pleased we got into the East, because it means I get to play against and coach against the clubs I came across when I was coaching for Henley.
It's been an underlying theme of our chat, Pete, that it is a 1 club, 1 team effort. But just to focus on yourself a little bit, obviously you mentioned before that Henley Hawks are your former club, and that's obviously who Oxford Harlequins take on this weekend. You were obviously at the club when they were in National 1. I think I'm right in saying, Pete, you guided the club to the 3rd tier as well. So what are the feelings, what are the emotions going to be like for you on Saturday to come up against a club where I think you spent 8 years at?
Yeah, well, it was actually a lot more than that. I coached there for 8 years, but I played there for like 10 years before that as well. So when I first came to England, I played for Henley back in 1998, back in the days when it was called Dewson 1, and we got promoted to what was then Allied Dunbar 2. It was a long time ago, which was essentially the championship back then. So as a player, we flirted between the championship and National 1. And then when I went back to coach then, we were at National 2 and got promotion to National 1 a couple of times. So I've got a great affiliation with Henley Rugby Football Club. It was a big part of my life for a long time as a player and a coach. I had some amazing memories and huge successes there. And I've still got lifelong friends who are club members, particularly the old boys who I played with, and they're now supporters. The director of rugby, Luke Allen's a really, really good friend of mine. I class him as one of my best mates. He was my forwards coach, actually, when I was last coaching there, and he then went on to become head coach and now director of rugby. Like, he's a brilliant, brilliant man, a great rugby man, and a good friend. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him. Obviously, it's going to be a hard-fought derby, and I'm looking forward to that. I'll never shy away from that. And irrespective of my feelings towards Henley, and I've got obviously great affection for the club, Oxford Harlequins is what I'm all about right now, and what I have been invested in the last sort of 5 or 6 years. And that's not going to change anytime soon.
So a big thanks to Pete for his time earlier in the week, looking ahead to that game against Henley Hawks on Saturday. And if you are actually a student in particular in the Oxford area and knocking around the Horsepath Sports Ground on Saturday afternoon, you can actually get in to watch this local derby for £5. It's an offer which Oxford Harlequins are promoting this weekend. So if you are a student in the Oxford area and are looking for a bit of a sporting fix on Saturday afternoon, head down to the Horsepath Sports Ground and you can get in for just a fiver. That is value for money if I've ever seen it, and also a local derby as well. What more can you want? So let's have a look at the table before we go into a bit more of a thorough look at the fixtures for round 4 in National 2 East. As we've mentioned, Canterbury, Guernsey and Tunbridge Julians there have unblemished records so far, whilst at the other end our feature club Oxford Harlequins, along with Sevenoaks, Colchester and Worthing, are yet to take a seat in the winners' lounge. But that can change for Colchester this weekend. They're back at home on Saturday afternoon, where they will face, as you can see in front of us, Old Albanian. Colchester did earn themselves a try bonus point last time out at Raven Park. Can they improve on that in round 4? We'll have to wait and see. Dorking versus Bury St Edmunds, good wins for both last week, particularly Bury St Edmunds, who dispatched Oxford Harlequins 61-33 to open their account in style. Guernsey versus Canterbury, we've touched on before. Two of the front runners doing battle at Foots Lane. Havant versus Westcombe Park. Havant will be looking to bounce back after that home defeat to Guernsey last time out. Westcombe Park rolling into this one after beating Henley 32-29 in round 3. Speaking of Henley, as we said, they take the trip to Oxford Harlequins on Saturday. Sevenoaks host Barnes. Adam Bowman's side yet to taste victory, but Barnes did lose this game against Sevenoaks 31-27 back in January. So Sevenoaks will be hoping for a repeat on Saturday afternoon, while Worthing entertained Tunbridge Julians, with the host aiming for their first win of the season. So that's National 2 East all done and dusted. Let's head into National 2 West now, where we are provided with an early top of the table tussle between Loughborough Students and Camborne. First versus second in the table, a full haul of 15 points from 15 for both sides. Loughborough getting past Hornets in round 3, whilst Camborne produced another excellent first half display to suffocate Taunton as they recorded a 58-25 win at Crane Park in round 3. And Josh Matafesi was on fire again for the Cherry and Whites. Camborne have begun the season really, really well, haven't they? That victory over Taunton, as I've just said, but also victory in round 2 on Derby Day against Redroof. And they open their account for this term with a home win against Macclesfield in round 1. And Macclesfield are our feature club in National 2 West. We do know it's well documented, of course, that Macclesfield are in National 2 West this season, but they started the term pretty encouragingly. 7 points from their first 3 matches. Try bonus points from long trips against Camborne and Exeter University, either side of that bonus point victory against Bourneville in round 2. So after 5 years away from level 4 rugby, we visited the Cheshire Club on Tuesday evening to see how they're embracing the challenges of playing in National 2 West.
There were a number of challenges. Obviously, we probably wouldn't have picked to do it, but as soon as we knew, we were just taking it as a new challenge, a new experience, buying into it. Yes, some players thought that's a bit much for me and could get, better gigs elsewhere. That meant they didn't have to travel so far, maybe got a bit more money. But the bulk of, 90% have stayed. We did try and push an ethos of flexibility here. We have no choice. Otherwise, your players are full-time workers, they're semi-pro players. They're contracted, but only for a match fee. It's not like they can, like take leave on Mondays and Fridays every week. So we've just had to have a big squad and push flexibility.
It takes a huge amount of commitment, and I think it's been a bit of a challenge for us in terms of attracting players. I think going over the summer, I think with the group that we've got, who are really tight group, really excited about the challenge and opportunity, it's a little bit of an adventure for us during the season, but it's during that off season and maintaining that enthusiasm, getting the new recruits, building the squad that's been challenging.
Most of the lads working 9 till 5, 7 till 4, so after a long working week myself, I know I do ground working, so it's like going hard at it 7 till 4 on Monday to Friday, and then suddenly you're meeting here in the morning and getting up at 3:30, 4 in the morning to then travel 7.5 hours, including because we had to get 2 bus drivers, so this is all new stuff to us. And obviously the element of a travel is there, but we don't want to use it as an excuse. We just want to get on with it and sort of just beat the 15 in front of us or the 20 in front of us and just slowly crack on, basically. But no, we're really enjoying it, and just got to enjoy a few beers on the way back, can't you, regardless. It's a long way from Cornwall. If you're even picking up a point or 2, it's great. A win would be even better.
From a rugby point of view, it was great news. Even faced with playing in the West, the players were very positive. They wanted to play National 2 rugby, and frankly, who can blame them? I mean, that's absolutely what any player wants to do. I think from a club point of view, financially, we're not in a great place. And so taking on particularly a travel budget as large as the one that we're going to face is very challenging indeed. We are driving our sponsorship and our other sources of revenue as hard as we can, but it goes without saying that when you're playing sides from so far away, the numbers that we're going to get through the gate on a Saturday to compensate for the increased costs that we have for away matches is probably fairly slim. It's early in the season, so I can't really give you too much insight into that. In fact, the gate for our home match against Bourneville was above expectations. So from that point of view, that was very positive. I think it's fair to say that to face this season, and it's nothing to do with the promotion necessarily into National 2. We were having to keep our costs as tight as we could this year, and that included, of course, payment to players. So the loyalty of our players to the club. Overwhelming is perhaps a strong word, but I'm very, very impressed and very, very pleased with the way the players have responded, not only on the park, but off it. They're a great bunch of guys, and I'm very, very proud to be their chairman.
Off the top of my head, I can think of at least 7 or 8 lads, looking from the pack. You've got even like people like Carl Joy coming into it now. You've got Harry Harding, you've got my brother, you've got Harry Blackwell, you've got Jen. The list goes on and on and on. But to do it with your mates, I think it makes it even more special, and everyone's sort of on the same wavelength. It's great to get new boys in, but that core group, we sort of need to bring people into it and embrace what it's all about, to be honest, and what the club's all about. Hopefully we can set an example, to be fair, and obviously the crowd as well. They're with us every single game, from going to places and clubs that we've never played at level 5. They always back us and they always stay behind us, and it's a massive push, really.
Personally, I'm delighted so far. I mean, obviously, you could say you could have 15 points, but we're totally new to this league. We're playing teams we haven't played in donkey's years, if ever. When you come up from a league below, you're not quite sure how you're going to compete. And we have competed in all 3 games. I know we've got 2 defeats, but we were well in them for long periods of time. And the other one, when Bourneville came here, I mean, we were, 20 plus points ahead after 63 minutes. And, we get one more score, I think that could have been higher. So, I think we've competed well. And I'm happy with what we've done so far. If we keep that rate of return up, we'll be more than, about mid-table. It was very important for us to put a stake in the ground early on in this league. I don't know what teams expected of us. Maybe they knew as much about us as we did about them. But we very much wanted to show that at home, you're going to come up here and you're going to face a battle. Great, well for everybody. Great to see him. But when the whistle goes, it's going to be a fight for you to compete. And even if we lose the game, we're not getting off that pitch without dragging ourselves off, having given everything.
To come away with points on the road is massive, but when we're here, we've got to make it real tough when people come up here. obviously as much as we've got to go down there, they've got to come up here. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, innit? But just being on our own up here as well, like there's not many local tickets. Like our closest games, I think 2.5 hours, is it? Loughborough, Hinckley, something like that, or Bourneville even. So that travel element is massively against us. But, you know, like I said before, we just want to relish the underdog mentality and sort of crack on really and just take it as an uphill battle and just enjoy it, and then hopefully make Priory Park our place to come.
One of the exciting things about the season is, I mean, there are some old friends in this league, of course there are, but, you know, Luctonians, Cinderford and others. But for us, you know, playing against new clubs, I mean, that's got to be exciting. I mean, to begin with, we don't really quite know what to expect. You know, you can watch videos, you can look at results and league tables and all sorts of things. But, you know, they're very dry things. You know, it's not until the players look one another, you know, eye to eye that you know. And from up here, from a spectator's point of view, that's exciting.
It's hard to be too detailed around where you set your objectives because, like you say, we haven't seen too many of the teams before. I never like to go into a season with anything less than I want to have a winning record. When I come out of it, I want to win more games than I lose. And if you can do that, you usually end up in a pretty decent spot.
So big thanks to everybody at Macclesfield for their hospitality and their time on Tuesday evening. It's great to get down to Priory Park. And this weekend they face Old Redcliffians. It is Mac's 150th year anniversary this season. So what better time to get down to the club on Saturday to join in those celebrations, but also, more importantly, enjoy the rugby itself at Priory Park, because those Macclesfield will be hoping for another home victory to back up that win against Bourneville in round 2. Mac have also asked us to signpost a couple of events they've got coming up over the next month or so. On the 12th of October, they do have their Oktoberfest. That's the same day as they play Cinderford at home. So why not put 2 and 2 together and have a fun-filled day at Priory Park? That's at the 12th of October is Macclesfield's Oktoberfest. And the club are also hosting their Bonfire and Fireworks Festival on November 1st. More details and links to both of those events will be in the description of the YouTube video, and we'll also be pushing them out on social media as well if people are interested in visiting Priory Park for those events, as well, of course, for the 80 minutes of rugby on a Saturday afternoon. So let's just have a quick look at the table before we bring you a bit of an overview of the rest of the fixtures in round 4 in National 2 West. As we said, Loughborough and Camborne are the early front runners with 3 wins from 3, 15 points from 15. Luctonians are also in there with 3 wins from 3 excellent hard-fought wins against Hinckley, Cinderford and Clifton to begin the term, while Exeter University are also unbeaten in 4th. Down at the bottom, Devonport Services, Hinckley and Hornets will be hoping they will have something to remember September by gaining a positive result in round 4. So let's take a look at the fixtures then for round 4 in National 2 West. And as you can see, Cinderford are the visitors to Clifton this weekend. Cinderford going to this game in better spirits after opening their account last week against Hinckley with that narrow 19-17 victory. Clifton, though, have a fabulous home record. I don't think they've been beaten since November of last year at Station Road. So a tough task for Cinderford this weekend. Devonport Services take on Luctonians, the home side. Have found life difficult so far in terms of results in National 2 West since their promotion. Injuries haven't helped either, and it's going to be a very difficult game against Luctonians on Saturday afternoon. Hornets versus Hinckley, an opportunity for both sides to get off the mark before we enter October. Loughborough Students versus Camborne is a 2 p.m. kickoff in the Midlands, as we've discussed. An early top of the table battle between those two very expansive sides. Macclesfield versus Old Redcliffians, of course, our feature game in National 2 West this week at Priory Park. Red Roof against Exeter University. Exeter University aiming to do what they did last year and end September with a full house of victories when they take the trip down the A30. And Taunton versus Bourneville to wrap things up. Taunton, who have already played the early top 2, will now be aiming to light the fuse on their season when they take on Bourneville this weekend down in Somerset. So that is it for the National League Rugby preview show this week. Please do continue to like and subscribe to our channel, like our videos as well. As we said at the start, it all goes to helping boost the profile of National 1 and National 2 Rugby. Do check out Talking Rugby Union as well, talkingrugbyunion.co.uk for all the latest rugby news, but also some good stuff on there around National League Rugby. And do check out our very own website, of course, for all the latest reviews, previews, updated tables, updated scores. We do pride ourselves on updating the scores as quickly as possible on a Saturday afternoon. But more importantly, if you are heading to a National 1 or National 2 club this weekend, do keep enjoying the rugby. We've had a fabulous start to the season and it's only going to continue. So thanks so much for watching and we'll catch you again next week.